You've got big dreams, you know the 10.0 version of yourself, but the reason you feel stuck isn't because your vision's too small, it's because your clarity is missing. Vision, I want you to look at it, is the what, clarity is the how. And without clarity, you're just spinning your wheels with no traction. In today's episode, I'm going to give you 3 game-changing questions that will cut through the fog and give you the blueprint to move your business forward. Let's get clear and let's get into today's episode. Hey friends, welcome back to the Cody Hofhine Show. In today's episode, it's not about just getting clear on your vision. That is important. I see people all the time. They're mapping out their goals, their 1 year, their 12 year, their 10 year, their 5 year. Goals are important. Don't get me wrong. I do them too. However, what I don't want you to do is fall into the trap that goals are everything, because goals are just simply the destination one day that you hope to be in. But over and above the destination, you really do need that blueprint. That's where clarity comes in. Vision is the what, clarity is the how. So if you're sitting there thinking, I know where I want to go, but I don't know how to get there, you guys, this episode's for you. It's gonna be fire. I'm going to give you 3 simple questions that will completely change the game. If you answer these honestly, you will walk away with real clarity, and with clarity comes certainty of intent. You guys, this is something I learned from a mentor of mine, Warren Rustan. I love this word, certainty of intent. When you have that certainty of intent with the action you're going to take, dude, it's game changing, right? And you can't be certain about the action you're going to take if you're not crystal clear on your blueprint or the action that you must take. So that's why this clarity is so valuable. That's why it's so good. So let's jump right into it. Question number 1, what do you want out of life? Now guys, this is gonna help you establish some vision, some destination, so that we can get this clarity that we're looking for. So again, question number 1, what do you want out of life? And I want you to think through this. When you hear that question, do you really know what you want out of life? Are you sitting there stumped and you have to sit there for a minute, think, what do I want out of life? If so, guys, that is a great sign. That's a great sign that work needs to be done, and be grateful that you're gonna start that work today. But when I ask that question, what I want you to do is I want you to dream big. This is like your 10.0 vision. Don't shrink this question. I want you to dream huge, right? I want you to dream big during this moment. What do you want out of your life in your marriage? What does the 10.0 version of that look like for you? What do you want out of your life for your business? What do you want out of life as a role as a mom and dad? What do you want out of life for your health, your vacations, your lifestyle, your contribution, your legacy? You guys, this is the part where you let your imagination take over. What would the best possible version of you be doing, living, and building? And I want you to think through that. Really get crystal clear. Dream big. If you guys fear dreaming big, this is not 2.0 version stuff. I don't want you just simply looking at where your business is done. Maybe you've done 1 million this year and you're like, this year would be awesome if I did 1.5 million. That is not 10.0. In fact, maybe another little question to throw to the side is, how much money do you want to make this year? And let's say you say $1 million. Times that by 10, that's what you're able to make. $10 million. What does that feel like to you? When I instantly say that, do you think oh man, 10 million, man, that's gonna mean I'm gonna have to work 80 hours a week, or that means I'm gonna have to not see my family this year. You guys, when I say that question, did you have a pit in your stomach wondering how you're gonna do it? If so, those are triggers letting you know you have some limiting beliefs. Each one of you are worthy and can make $10 million a year. But what's gonna hold you back is those limiting beliefs. I really want you to dream big though. I want you to dream 10.0 when you're doing this question. There's a great book out there. It's called The Rhythm of Life. It's by Matthew Kelly. You guys, if you haven't put your hands on this book, I would highly recommend it. It's just a phenomenal read. It just talks about what really matters in life. And this guy does a fantastic job of really doing and putting together in a book what life's really all about. At the beginning, he talks about how he went and visited this college. And it was one of the high-end colleges. Goes there and he's asking the students, what do you want out of life? This same exact question. And it was like a high percentage. I don't remember the number, but it was very high. Let's say 80, 90% of the class, they would say their answers and you could tell they had no clue what they wanted in life. No clue at all. And so he kept asking the class, what do you want out of life? And finally, there was one person that raised their hand and shared in detail what he wanted to do, what he wanted to become, why he wanted to do that. He had this whole thing mapped out. But for so many, Again, 80, 90% of the class, no one had no real clue. They're still just figuring out and just kind of letting the days happen each and every day. And I say that because I will coach a ton of individuals where I'll ask this question. And I would say above 50%, they're not crystal clear on what they want out of life. That's something you must know, because if you don't know what you want out of life, where you want to go, who you want to become, you'll never get to the point of clarity, which is the blueprint on how to get there. Question number 2, when do you want it by? A dream without a timeline is just delusion. Vision without a deadline is just fantasy. It's not real until you timestamp it. You've got to put a timestamp on this. When do you want that 10.0 marriage? When do you want that next income level, that boost in how much you're going to bring home this year? When will you take that dream trip with your family that you've been putting off? Deadlines, guys, that drives action. When you timestamp it, you've got to get accountable and you've got to go do the work. This question creates urgency. It creates momentum. It creates progress. Put it on paper. Put it on the calendar. You guys, right now I have a mentor. Holy smokes. If you guys aren't getting mentored and coached, I want you to know I've been mentored and coached ever since, my first mentor would have been 2013. And I probably haven't missed a year ever since then. I always have this saying, you've heard it probably in a bunch of my podcasts, where you pay your money, you pay attention. And I make sure I always save at least 10% of what I bring home every year, where I reinvest that into mentorship, coaching, events, masterminds, things that are always allow me to get better, become the better version of myself. I would highly recommend the same to you. So I have this mentor right now that is walking me through this very same process and challenging my timelines. So here I am saying, here's what I want to accomplish. Here's when I want to accomplish it by. And my coach is like, nope, we got to speed that up. That's too long. And I'm sitting there scratching my head, which is a good sign. I have some probably limiting beliefs behind this, but I love that he challenges me and that he sped it up. Here's the thing, these goals should feel impossible. If they feel impossible, you are finally on track. And I think so many times we've heard this myth that goals should be reachable, they should be obtainable. I don't know if I believe that anymore. I used to. In fact, that's how I used to set my goals, was exactly by that process. I would just find out where I had been in the past, and I'd figure, okay, if I did 10, 20% better this year, that's gotta be a good year-over-year growth for my business, and I'd set the goal. That's the wrong way. When you hear some of these great people in life, some of the people I'm following right now and actually getting mentored from, like Dan Martell, Bedros Keuilian, right? These two individuals, they set impossible goals. They don't set reachable, obtainable goals. Why? Because when it's impossible or feels impossible, most people think, oh, I'm gonna just give up. I won't do anything. No. What it does is it wakes up your brain to actually start getting creative so that you start thinking of new ways to actually make this thing happen. This is what I like. I like the fact that when I sit there and I have this, what seems like an impossible goal, because possible just makes you think a little bit better than the year before. I need to be thinking a lot better, 10.0 better than the year before. So I need those goals to not just be well beyond stretchable. They almost need to feel impossible. And in doing so, you're gonna have your brain start to wake up and be creative. That means I'm gonna have to start doing this, and I'm gonna have to do partnership marketing. Maybe there's other coaches I can align with that have students in their group that have my perfect avatar, that if I meet them, it's not gonna be just about my paid marketing, but I can also couple with them and they can get an affiliate, and you just start to think better for your business. Question number 3, what are you willing to eliminate? Now, just to kind of give you just a little story behind this, think of it like a farmer. A farmer wakes up each and every day to go plow the fields, plant the crops, harvest the crops, all these things that have to take place. Most farmers, when they have their field, they don't have any more space. So if they want to plant crops, what they have to do is they have to remove the weeds so that they can create the space for the new crop that has to be planted. So if it's a new field, man, plenty of weeds to get rid of so that you can put the right crop in place so it grows fruit, grows vegetables, all those things, right? It's the same thing in our life. We don't find more time. We don't find more space to be able to do this. And I hear entrepreneurs asking all the time is they're always asking, clarity comes from adding. And what I want you to know is it really comes from subtracting. This is where the real shift happens. We always think, what do I need to do next? But the better question is, what do I need to stop doing? That's the question you should be asking. What do you need to eliminate? You can't find more time. In this day and age, we're busy each and every day. We cannot find more time. So we must and only do the things that are of most value. So you've got to look at your current calendar. You got to look at your current things that you're doing each and every day, and you got to start eliminating, right? Robin Sharma calls this killing your little darlings, meaning, yeah, I know you love all this stuff, but today's the day for only my best work. And so I'm gonna have to kill off some of these things that I'm doing, quit doing it, or remove the weeds so I can plant the crop. What really matters. You guys, this is not easy work. That means you're gonna have to get crystal clear on what you're doing each and every day, because so many times it's not that we're doing bad things, it's that we're just doing the good and the better things, when really we need to be filling our days with the best things. And as you do so, you start to see the trajectory of your business drastically improve, drastically change, and you start to actually see how you can hit these impossible goals that you started to set for yourself. What habits, routines, roles, or distractions are taking up space in your life? I want you to think through that. I know one of them for many people, it's their phone. Is their phone sitting on their desk? I hope you can see this. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're on my YouTube channel, you'd see there's no phone on my desk. There's definitely no email sitting up on my computer. Like, those things are distractions. Those things are holding me back. Where are you spending time that doesn't move the needle? Think about that. If you're still running to go get your coffee in the morning, or you're still doing some of these things that someone else you could pay a lot less to go run these errands, or you're still checking your email versus having an executive assistant that knows how to really run your emails and do all that. If you're doing these things still, is it really worth your time? Are these things that are really worth you to do? Because there's so many things that we can get caught up into easy that aren't moving the needle for the business. Subtraction creates space for what matters most, guys. You'll never execute on a dream if your calendar is still filled with things that don't align. So making sure you get crystal clear on being aligned with that. You guys, in closing, if you want clarity, ask yourself these 3 questions. What do I want out of life? This allows you to start dreaming big. When do I want it by? That puts a deadline on it, and speed it up. Make yourself have to get uncomfortable when you do this timeline. And the third one, what am I willing to eliminate? This really starts to make the space for what matters. Clarity isn't found in doing more. That's the one thing I want you to get out of today's episode. It's found in doing what matters. Vision creates inspiration. Clarity creates execution. So your challenge this week is simple. I want you to simply take 15 minutes. I hope you're doing these things right after the podcast, because the whole point behind these podcasts is if you're inspired to hey, I want to make a change as a result of listening to this podcast, then you've got to train the brain to close the gap between the time when you are inspired and the time you're going to take action. The reason why so many individuals have a hard time growing and becoming someone better is because the moment they feel inspired, oh man, that spoke to me, and then the moment that they actually take action on that moment that inspired them, that spoke to them, it's such a massive gap. And sometimes because the gap is so big, they forget to even take the action on the thing they were being inspired with. Now, guys, I'm a firm believer in God. He's my powerful source, my all power. And I believe he speaks to me on a regular basis. Now, when I say speak, I don't mean that in I hear his voice. However, there's so many times that I do get inspired, and that I believe is him speaking to me, letting me know of what it is I personally need in my life so that I can just become a better individual. I need to treat that inspiration with respect. And I gotta close the gap from the moment I feel inspired to the moment I take action. I gotta close the gap. So my hope is you'll take these 15 minutes, journal your answers to these 3 questions right now, and don't overthink it. Just get honest. You already have a big vision, or you wouldn't be on this podcast. Now it's time to get clear on the path. You got this, okay? Now, you guys, if you enjoyed this episode and you got value from it, would you do me a quick favor? Go ahead and hit that button, the like button, subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, share this with someone you know who needs this message. It helps the algorithm push this out to more people so we can make an even bigger impact. Thank you for being with me today, and I'll see each one of you on our next episode.